NCTV45, The Train, anytime on your time.
This program was provided through funding from Cedars Restaurant in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. A special thanks to Cedars, featuring Middle Eastern, Italian, and American cuisine. Today's program was furnished by a grant from the Beanery Depot and Deli, featuring coffee, made-to-order subs, and snacks. The Beanery Depot and Deli in Mahoningtown.
Welcome to the Cedars Sports Corner, everybody. I'm Alex DeLaverson, and with me is our producer, Angelo Parada. And Angelo, we had a eventful weekend in terms of the sports world going on.
Don't try to make up with me.
What are you talking about?
You know what? Ben showed everybody why he's the top quarterback in the league with the stats he put out, and now all of a sudden everybody's jumping on the bandwagon. Oh, maybe he's not, in fantasy football. Just a
he's probably the most consistent bright spot for the Steelers so far, I think. And other than that first game where he,
Now, why wouldn't you take him in fantasy football?
I didn't say I want to take him in fantasy football.
Well, we had this conversation. Please go back and review the tapes.
That would, listen.
Yeah.
No. Listen. If fantasy football is completely different than
having
NFL,
a good game.
Than NFL. Listen. In fantasy football, you have to realize, too, that the value of quarterbacks, after the first, I would say, 3 or 4 quarterbacks, then there's like that giant dip where you can get them in the later rounds and things like that.
I'm cleaning my glasses because I'm trying to see his point.
If you have Ben Roethlisberger on your fantasy team, you definitely have to make sure you have an insurance plan because he's going to get hurt most likely. So, and also he can be very hit or miss too. But listen, I'm very pleased with Ben. I'm happy that Antonio Brown is apparently happy. And have you been following this James Harrison, Mark Madden feud that's been going on Twitter?
No, I've been you've had me glued to watch and see the Cleveland Browns and what they're going to do next.
We're going to get to that, but basically, James Harrison went on Undisputed for Fox Sports, and he said that if he was Le'Veon Bell, he would return to the Steelers and fake an injury, and that way he could still get paid. Mark Madden tweeted at James Harrison and was basically saying, why would you try and lowball the Steelers like that? You're a person who said you wouldn't give out participation trophies for your sons. You wouldn't let them have it, but yet you're telling someone like Le'Veon Bell to be a bad example for his kids, lie, get that money, and sit out. And Mark Madden is basically making the point that James Harrison has been just really, hating on the Steelers, obviously since he got released. And James Harrison responded, "Come say that to my face," expletive.
And now, as the sands go through the hourglass, we return to the days of the NFL.
Yeah, and I'll tell you what, man, with the Steelers, there's no drama. There's no shortage of drama.
Yeah,
let's transition to the Browns, I guess. And I know
because I'm waiting for you in the next segment.
Oh no! Listen, you want to say that for next segment?
No, go ahead, because I'm all geared up.
I definitely think Baker Mayfield should be the starting quarterback. I'm not going to declare him the franchise's savior like everyone else is. But basically, Baker Mayfield comes in, helps the Browns get their first victory in, oh God, how many years? How many games? Whatever. In a long time. Now everyone's ready to coronate him. I just feel like you got to damper your expectations a little bit. As long as they make progress. I know you have them winning maybe like 8 games, 9 games, like around there.
Was his dad a baker?
What?
Was his dad a baker?
Was his dad a baker? I don't know, but they call him...
I just wondered if he made cupcakes.
I don't... Who was that one guy? Chris Berman used to say something Baker, the touchdown maker. But anyway, people think Baker's going to be a touchdown maker for the Browns. I think he's going to have a good career, but I'm just... Hold on, Cleveland fans. Hold on. I know you guys are happy because you got your first win, but just relax a little bit. Enjoy the slow ride of progress, and that way you won't get devastated by having your hopes too high. And honestly, too, I think the Steelers
are going to play the Ravens this weekend.
Well, no, I know, but I was going to say, I think the Steelers are going to start turning it around a little bit. Their defense is still, oh, man. And the Steelers' offense is going up against the tough Ravens defense. And we used to be able to count on a Ravens-Steelers game being a tough physical defensive matchup. Man, with the way the Steelers' defense has been playing, they actually might make the Ravens' offense look like the Rams of 2000, the greatest show on turf. But I think the Steelers, what they're going to do, they'll get 9 or 10 wins by the end of the year, sneak into the wild card of the playoff, and then,
Wild card?
I think
wild card? You talking about a wild card?
Playoffs? Talk about playoffs? That's what the Colts coach said, Mora.
I say we still win the division, but I say we better go to these sponsors.
I say we take a break, maybe talk college football in the next segment, and now a word from our sponsors.
Sylvan Heights Golf Course in Newcastle, Pennsylvania features many amenities, lush fairways, and great greens, and many challenging shots. Your crowd will applaud. A short drive from Butler, Sharon, Pittsburgh, Elwood, and Youngstown. It's Sylvan Heights Golf Course in Newcastle, Pennsylvania. Hey, Angelo Parada here for Croakers, Kegs, and Corks. And if that's not a mouthful, nothing is. But when you need a mouthful of that special brew, it's Croakers, Kegs, and Corks. Nothing tastes better than when you make it yourself. And I do some of that brew myself quite often. I like doing it. It's a great hobby, and it's something you can do. Croakers, Kegs, and Corks located right in Union Township. Give them a try. This program furnished by the MAD Unit, Mobile Auto Detailing. See Michael Sad at themadunit.com. Elham's for one great dining experience.
Welcome back to the Cedars Sports Corner, everybody.
Aloha. I'm singing Hawaiian songs.
Why are you doing that?
How about those Duquesne University Dukes?
Yeah.
14-0 lead on Hawaii.
Hey, good for them. Good for them.
Yeah, no wonder Pitt doesn't want to play them.
You know what? I'm very, very
The Dukes
upset
fly
with
out
what's
to,
going on with
listen, the Dukes fly out, play a game at midnight against a highly touted Hawaiian team, jump out to a 14-0 lead. They lose 41-21. But that's really kind of, you scored 21 points. and drove half of Earth away. And then Pitt plays North Carolina.
Well, I'm actually kind of surprised you'd be on the side of a moral victory. I feel like that's something that you'd usually be against.
Well, here's what you could say. It's a little bit more than a moral victory, don't you think? First of all, Pitt played North Carolina where?
Well, no, I meant more
hours away, and it takes you how long to get to Hawaii? That's Division I. They can get scholarships. We can't.
Well, yeah, it's realistically, yeah. Realistically, that's good.
It's the Duke's season right now has that loss against Hawaii and win against Dayton, and I'm saying, well,
is Duquesne below FCS subdivision like where YSU is? Are they below that conference? Because
they could make the playoffs. They did the last time. They're not below. They're in that conference, but they have I don't want to say
lower end
non-scholarship, but YSU being bigger and being a state school could give out a lot more. Okay, but the Dukes made the playoffs and played Old Dominion, who, by the way, Old Dominion beat Virginia Tech.
You know what? I had this discussion with a couple of my buddies over the weekend. Virginia Tech just seems to be one of those schools that always gets upset by like a lower-end school. It just seems to happen. I remember James Madison. It just seems to happen a lot with them. Even if it's not like that, they seem like they could be ranked high, then they just lay an egg against a lower opponent.
He's just veering off course.
Oh, no. Listen, let's talk about Pitt, since you think I'm trying to distract our audience from Pitt. I am very, very upset with the state of the program right now. Narduzzi's first 2 years, he goes 8-5 both years. Bowl games, looks promising. Last season goes 5-7, but beats Miami at the end of the season. Optimism. I'll tell you what, man. Right now, it's hard to feel like Narduzzi's ever going to really have Pitt as a top 20 program. Maybe, it just good coaches by year 4 don't have the problems. Good coaches by year 4 are progressing. They're not regressing. And, man, it's not looking good. I'm not saying he's going to get fired unless he completely blows up the rest of the season, doesn't lose a game. And I know they gave him a 7-year contract extension, which I feel like in college sports almost means nothing. You know what I mean? But I'll tell you what.
Well, they can't really fire him. They got to stick with him.
I feel like he's under-recruited, too.
He has some interesting issues now on the table with that loss to North Carolina.
Yeah, they beat Georgia Tech. Okay, go 1-0 in the ACC. Then you blow it to North Carolina, and then they play University of Central Florida this week, which probably is going to be a loss. But I'll tell you what, for all the hype Narduzzi brought in, the rah, we're going to out-recruit Penn State, we're going to beat them, Hey, look, maybe it does. Maybe I'm overreacting, but I just feel at this point in time, the ship's kind of going downhill a little bit. So he needs to right this ship. He needs to find a way to get better recruits in. And, if not, then, it might even be better that they don't play Penn State every year.
Meanwhile, back at the ranch, Penn State
beat Illinois,
take a game off, and now they got to play Ohio State.
Well, so if they do beat Ohio State, we give them credit?
Easy credit. They can't get it. Let's go Buckeyes.
I don't know. I mean, they beat Ohio State a few years ago. It's not like they're... And you can make the case this team is better than Penn State's last team when they beat Ohio State. I don't know. Maybe they lose, but I just look at the two programs, Pitt and Penn State. Penn State obviously had that scandal 2011. They had those penalties that seemed like it was going to be a death sentence. And, of course, they got all that fixed and restored. But I just felt like, man, Pitt was in a perfect position to at least get to their level in terms of recruiting and, being able to compete with them. It's just, James Franklin has been recruiting well, and I don't know if how good of a coach he really is. I don't know if it's just his talent. He's winning just because of his talent or not. I don't know. But, man, when you recruit that well, you're expected to win big. So if James Franklin doesn't win big with the talent he's got coming in, then could you see him on the hot seat?
Well, I could see these sponsors saying, when he comes back, he got another thing to tell you.
And usually when he does that and doesn't answer the question, it's because he doesn't want to admit, that I'm right about something or that I'm onto something. But we'll talk about that next segment.
I'm waiting for him.
Yeah. So now a word from our sponsors. And
Parkstown Restaurant has been serving the greater Newcastle area with quality and experience in family dining and great entertainment. Their superb menu includes sides, wings, pizza, sandwiches, Italian entrees, American entrees, soups and salads. Parkstown Restaurant located at 2800 West State Street, Newcastle. Eat in or take out. Also, call Parkstown and ask about what's on tap for entertainment. 724-656-1453. 656-1453.
Today's programming is brought to you by NCTV45 and NC Radio 450, Newcastle's community television station. This program furnished by Sporting Goods, 23 East Washington Street, Newcastle. Call 724-658-2535. These fine businesses provided funding for this program. Gatherings, Town and Country, and On Target.
Welcome back to the Cedar Sports Corner, everybody. And just to clarify before we went to break, what I was trying to explain to you, Angelo, is that if Penn State continues, to do well, they get 10 or 11 wins, but not enough to leapfrog them, pass Ohio State, get into the Final Four. If they're not able to really become the kings of the Big Ten, could they get rid of James Franklin, you think?
You have to understand, Penn State is a glorified pit. Penn State plays a cupcake, then they play a hard game. Then they play a cupcake, then they play a hard game. They have never had to play two rough games in a row. If they played a couple non-pansies in a row, what you'd find out is they're really not that good. They weren't that good under Paterno, and I know people are going to go, but he would play, look, he would open up, we'll play Villanova, then it'd play Maryland, then it'd play Miami and Florida. Then it'd play Rutgers and Temple, so he could heal. Okay, I don't believe Penn State is that good of a team. I don't believe they're that good of a recruiting area. Franklin may have gotten people, but they're always going to be in this shadow. Are we measuring up to what Joe Paterno had?
So you think, so basically you're saying that could cause a knee-jerk reaction to make them get rid of James Franklin, even though maybe they shouldn't?
Probably yes.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's what happens with expectations, Expectations are high at Penn State, even though, like you said, babe, in your opinion, those expectations should be dampened a little bit because you don't think they're as good as everyone makes them out to be.
No, they're not in Notre Dame.
And Notre Dame is having quite a year.
And Notre Dame plays a bowl game every week. They're on TV every week. They're super duper scouted. So you have Notre Dame playing Stanford this week at home. Let's go Irish.
What has Brian Kelly done with this team that you believe puts him in a position to run the table and get to the Final Four?
He keeps recruiting, and I'll say this, the schedule favors him in this run. Because after he plays Stanford, then he doesn't have anything challenging that's going to upset the apple cart and.
But see, those are the games, man, that really get me nervous.
But
is when
Notre Dame doesn't lose
like
those
trap
games.
You know,
Notre Dame will lose to somebody with talent or brains. Like, okay, they're going to come out, beat Stanford. Now they have to play Virginia Tech, and I don't see them having a problem with Virginia Tech just for the reason that they'll be being warned not to let down. They come home, they play Pitt at home at Notre Dame.
now what I will say, Pitt is one of those schools they'll lose to a very awful opponent, and then they'll upset a really high-ranked opponent.
Because Notre Dame's everybody's Super Bowl, okay? Then so you have, after the Stanford game, you have Virginia Tech, Pitt, Navy, and Northwestern.
Well, what I mean more along with Pitt,
So there's wins when you set about winning the table. And the last three games, Florida State at home, and that's
Florida State's not good this year.
and that's a November game. Syracuse at home, and that's a November game. So then the game that I see on the radar
USC
is USC.
at the end of the year.
Yeah, because USC, they'll have to salvage their season, and Notre Dame would be salvaging their season.
Well, just in general, like last game of the season, even if USC isn't having the best of, their best year, like teams like to play spoiler. USC would love to spoil Notre Dame's season.
That's the rivalry.
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. So I don't think any of all those games they should win. Now, what I'm saying though is upsets do happen. Sometimes, the teams come out, and sleep, or your opponent's on, fire. Flukish things happen. Trap games. I think a trap game for Notre Dame is Pitt. Actually, sometimes Pitt does beat them. They do beat them here and there. And like I said, Pitt's one of those schools that will upset a really highly ranked school, but also lose to ITT Tech or whatever. So I would say the games I need to watch out for are Pitt and USC. I'm not saying they're going to lose to Pitt. I'm not saying that. I'm saying they better not sleep on Pitt.
Yeah, you know what? It's.
What am I wrong? What if I said that I was wrong?
It's always the same old stuff. See, he doesn't want to get too high on Cleveland, so he wears his Oakland Raiders colors because he knows they're playing the Jets, and he feels like,
I literally just grabbed whatever was in my closet.
He feels like, geez, rather than say Notre Dame will probably beat Pitt, well, I'll go rah. We can't beat North Carolina, but maybe we could beat Notre Dame.
No, Notre Dame probably will beat Pitt. I'm saying I'm rooting for Notre Dame. Well, I'm not going to root for them against Pitt. No. Listen, you always do this. Stop it. Pause. What I'm saying, because you always do this. I'm going to root for Pitt in that game, but if Pitt's not going to beat them,
then you'll root for Cleveland.
Oh my God, you're going to have to drive anyone crazy. I'll be rooting for Notre Dame to win the national title.
Thank you.
Unless because apparently I don't think you or I think Penn State's really gonna have a shot for the Final Four. I don't.
No, Penn State loses Ohio State this week.
I think so too. You have me so frustrated right now. Do we still have another segment left? Or
no, this is it.
Okay.
We gotta say goodbye.
That's how frustrated you got me. But all right. I guess the last thing I want to say is
go Cleveland.
No, you're actually gonna make me start hating Cleveland teams just so I can avoid you, picking on me. But no, with all seriousness though, I am gonna be more optimistic. I am more optimistic for the Steelers. I'm very pessimistic about Pitt, and the Pirates. They got to win 2 more games. Get over 500. Everyone's like, I will be not so terribly disappointed if they finish over 500, considering the offseason they had. I'll be like, okay, at least they technically had a winning season. Things like that, mean something to me. But
well, here's how I see it. Duquesne wins, Notre Dame wins, and the Steelers win. It's a good weekend.
And that's a wrap. So I hope all you enjoy this football-filled weekend, and I hope all of you stay safe.
A special thanks to the YMCA for caring about the Lawrence County community and providing funding for this program.